All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast. I'm Eli. What up, Ben? It's been too long, buddy.
It's another episode. I forgot it's somewhere between 107 and 110 is my guess.
Yes, I've completely forgotten myself. But it's so good to be back. It doesn't even matter at this point, but it's just good to have you back on here. It's actually 107. I went and looked. 107. And it's a big one. We're looking at the Grendel Prime novel written by Greg Rucka with glorious etching, artwork, beautiful work by Matt Wagner. It's quite a tale. And at first, I'd like to send a shout out, a thank you, a message of love to my co-host and friend and cohort, Ben, who, when I told him, I'm so busy, man, I can't find the time to sit down and read this book. I can't find the time to sit down and relax and read. Ben took it upon himself to read 20 chapters in 20 little bite-sized segments for me to read and enjoy on the move, to hear my friend read me these tales, to wake me up, to put me to sleep, to read me these to hear my friends' dulcet tones talk about the dancing of
whatever
the fingers and the action, and just it was such a cool thing, an amazing way to take this book in. This being the second time I've read it, and the last time being 10 or 20 years ago, it was an amazing way to experience it like together. And I just thank you so much for doing that, Ben. It was amazing.
Should we release the audiobook?
Release the audio? Definitely for that one chapter, dude. Yeah. Everyone's got to hear it.
It's it was a fun challenge to read it and try to bring it to life just for you. And there's sometimes where I was doing it really well, and there's other times where I just would give up and you would hear me swear.
I could hear that. Yes. I can feel like sometimes this was like early. Sometimes this was like you on the porch after maybe a joint or two. Sometimes this was like two. Sometimes it felt as if I was your beautiful child and you were reading me to bed. Whereas other times it felt like you were reading a Penthouse Forum to your friends in the hallway of school before 9th grade English class.
Whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself. Let's get into the intro so we can actually Grendel.
We're not going to talk about what we've been up to, or that was what we've been up to.
It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
Eli, what have you been up to?
Oh, Ben, you'll never guess. Just doing comics. Had a booth at San Diego Comic-Con. 2 successful Kickstarters above $10,000. Publishing comics. Just taking everything one step above, one step beyond, and one step above, and just I don't know, man. Making Cosmic Lion Productions what it has always dreamed of being. We got a new logo from Sam J. Royal, I think, was since the last time we did it, and since we did a podcast, it's just been a ton of stuff. I came and hung out with you. We had Seder. That was the last time we were together. Yeah, it's just a ton of stuff, a ton of amazing stuff. And
congratulations today on your successful Kickstarter for Big Bang.
That's right. The Big Bang. Yep. It's been amazing working with Gary Carlson, Chris Ecker. It's been amazing. Just super fun stuff. And, I couldn't be more happy. I'm excited to work with you on your book that looks amazing, Ben, if I may segue.
Okay. I'm 55 pages into a book that I've been drawing since January, and it's coming out good. It's called The Pictomancer,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to finish it someday soon.
I can't wait to see it. It looks amazing. How much you say you're 55 pages in, or it's going to be 55 pages?
It's going to be 85 pages. It's going to be 80-ish pages, and I'm 55 in. But I've got other people coming in and doing a page here and there, weaving that into my storytelling. So that's one of the fun things I'm trying to do with it.
Nice, very nice.
But yeah, so fun things are fun, and this one was that.
This one was that.
Have you read other Greg? Okay, you said Greg Rucka. I'm going to say Greg Rucka.
Ooh.
I think we should both not change what we're going to say.
Okay.
Who is to say? Have you read any of his other stuff?
I have not. I don't believe I have. What else would I have read?
Queen and Country is one of his big indie books. I think it's espionage. It might have had covers by Tim Sale.
Oh,
maybe Eduardo Riso, Tim Sale, something like that. I read. Did he do Gotham Central, or is that Ed Brubaker? I can't remember.
Can't either.
But that book is drawn, I think, by Michael Lark, who drew Greg Rucka's Lazarus book. And I'd read about 3 to 4 trades worth of that one. And Eli, it was magnificent.
Really?
Really, really, really. It's drawn in a very, very, like, I guess, photo reference realistic style, which is normally not my thing at all. And so I saw this book blowing up. It was like a $1 image first kind of deal. I was like, oh, when I was a retailer. And I was like, I'm not really going to be into that. But I picked it up because only $1. And I was hearing good things about it. And as soon as I read it, you fall into this world. It's about like futuristic oligarch family cyborg knights that resolve political issues through cyborg combat.
Hell yeah, dude! He did do Gotham Central 6 through 10 with Michael Lark.
Yeah. And then I read. I really liked that book. And then I read a couple of issues of a book he also did an image called Black Magic, which uses a storytelling device that I'm sort of using in the Pictomancer, where you isolate black and white and color stuff so that, like, when the magic happens, it can be the only thing in color. Yada yada yada.
Nice.
So anyway, my experiences reading this author are good. What's
I have no other experience. It doesn't look like. I only have experience reading this book. And
what did you think of this book?
I enjoyed it. I think it went on a nice clip. It's not like too long. It has like the size and like maybe feel that it could be like YA or something, but it by no means is YA at all. It's very intense and short. It's short but long in a way.
It was brisk 200 pages.
Yeah, but action packed and basically non-stop action. I think after the first maybe like 5 chapters, beautiful storytelling and world building and detail and again, we used to always talk. I say we used to now because there's been a break, but someone might not know that. We always talk about like the world of Grendel and building and traveling inside of this world, and this is like all we get in this book. We're traveling around in the Asian countries and meeting villagers and different types of Grendels, and it's super cool. I dig it.
Yeah, seeing how people react to Grendel. One of my favorite things about the book is that it's sort of laid out, I guess, akin to an old Pulp Fiction mag, where you've got spot illustrations and full illustrations woven into columns of text.
Yes.
I think that's great. I hope one day to either do a book or see a book or read more books like this, but with, like, can you imagine if there was like little 3-panel strips interspersed, or
Whoa.
full sequences of comics, and then it would just like return to prose and then spot illustrations and like everything all at once. That's
That'd
my
be
dream.
very cool. That would be so cool, because it is cool, because like I guess it really only happens in the end, but there is like a full 2-page spread,
Yeah, for sure.
which is really cool. And
That's a
almost every time that they start describing a character, they do they get a panel out and you see him,
establishing shot.
yeah, you see them or her or whatever. So
yeah.
yeah, it is edited by Diana Schutz, shout out, and it is published by Dark Horse. I wonder how. I mean,
Yeah,
it's published by Dark Horse Comics. I wonder how many novels they published in their day.
I think there's maybe more than one Mike Mignola. Like
Oh, really?
Hellboy, and then like maybe another, like Jenny Wren, Girl Detective, or Ghost, whatever it is, something like that.
And I think there's even some Shaolin Cowboy like prose stories that they collected.
Yeah, this is cool. Well, I mean, my favorite parts of this are the flashbacks when they like plug you directly into what happens to Jupiter and to Crystal and Baruch and all these characters that we met and get to see the direct aftermath of War Child.
Yes, absolutely. And how Jupiter died. I mean, did we get a lot of elucidation on that previously, or?
Yeah, he dies. No, he dies on his wedding night in Dakota. Right. So yeah, let's review some of this best to my memory. Now, I don't remember it that well because I finished reading it a number of weeks ago. So okay, so they took over in Denver, and Jupiter is coronated, and Crystal marries Azif al-Baruch.
Right.
And Crystal tells Jupiter to go send Susan back to Dakota to be head of security at Dakota to get her. It's just too messy and too awkward. Get her out of there.
Right.
And so the Khan gives Susan a mission, and she takes it without hesitating. And then she's there for 5 years, and no one ever shows up.
Right, and she just hangs out there and is like not being used, like she's truly like one of the most powerful Grendels, and the clan Veraghen has been tasked to keep the Khans safe or something like that. There's
something like that. When the whole clan kills itself,
when he's killed, because they failed.
Because of that, because
they perform ritual.
She triggers it off because what happens is as soon as she resigns, he doesn't ask any questions. He's like, "Yeah, of course you'd resign after 5 years. I'm surprised you stayed this long." And she dips out. Then it becomes his favorite place to go. Right. And within weeks, it's like it's bumping and jumping all over there. And then on his wedding night, his bride kills him.
Right.
So it's left vague to me how the lineage of the Khans continues.
True. Well, because they keep saying that after that, it kind of like it got unclear, and then the Khan's message was like lost, and the local different clans kind of like took over and stuff too. But there is a Khan that continues. But
right. Well, I read this 2 weeks ago, and the Khan who's in this, I think it's like 50 to 300 years after.
Yeah, that's way ahead
when this is supposed to be. Yeah. So who's to say? Anyway, so Susan
Matt, I guess.
Yeah, Matt is to say. So with Jupiter dead, the unification that he provided, all the stability, the promised stability, falls apart.
Yeah, fully.
And the clans are warring, and the identities of the Grendels have changed, and Susan sets it upon herself to go find Grendel Prime.
That's right.
Only that can unify the clans.
And that's where we begin here. It's truly like for the first 4 or 5 chapters, it's truly this journey. She's going like into the, she catches these little things. Like she finds someone. The first major thing that happens is she finds his lightsaber, his sword, his laser sword. We don't want the Lucas people after us. But his lightsaber, she finds his lightsaber, and she's like, who got this? And they're like, oh, this boy found it, and you've got to go to this village to find the boy. We bought it from here. So that kind of spurs along the trajectory that really gets everything going.
Yeah, the woman that sold the boy the thing that killed the cat, and all this stuff. My
father bought for the two
is this woman named Mace, who Susan falls in love with. Mace hates the Grendels, and we learn later on is part of the People's Revolutionary Army.
Right.
And there's this, they are the antagonists of this, and they try to lure, it's this great test of faith for Susan, because who spent her entire book and life in service to the Khan. And they're trying to convince her that it doesn't work. It's it's unstable for a reason. It was, I guess the undertones are that it was, Orion's a fascist.
Right.
And so there's a lot of real great moral complexities about duty, and doing the right thing in this book.
Right. Yeah. And because we came up and through the Tim Sale stuff, and, we had such, what was it, like super heady, stuff about him coming up and it about Grendel Khan coming up. And so you're on his side. You're kind of like rooting for him. He's the character we're following for so long. But then when you're coming to it from these other people's side, you see that he was like the man. He was the people coming in to kind of to take away their personal freedoms or something, like he was the government. He wasn't the hero that we were following. Does that make sense?
No, it's just I was having a reverence. Your theories send me somewhere else. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man.
So yeah, her and Mace, set out. Mace is like, oh, I've got this map, and I can take us, to the village. I've been there before, and it takes us through all these different, harsh climates and bathhouses and
graphic sex scenes.
Graphic sex scenes.
Yeah. And I could not read those parts aloud to you, Eli. It was too much.
Right. It was, and I'll tell you, hearing your guy friend read it to you, the sexuality is drained completely out of it. I
read it as quickly as I possibly could. I'm actually, we should talk about Matt's drawings here on this.
They're so good. They're so good.
These are coming. This book's released in the year 2000, and Mage 2 started coming out in 1999. So there's at least some overlap potential of this, these being right back to back or coming out during the same time or whatever it is, which is cool to know that both, when the two are in synergy. I recently read Mage 2, and I have to tell you that knowing Grendel and the tales of production and all this make Mage 2 a much richer reading experience than I remember, merely loving it as a boy for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm excited. Now that you've shared this revelation, I'm very excited to get back into it and read it again.
Yeah, it's a very unique literary effect to be able to have the two sort of feed on and off of each other.
Yeah, agreed.
So the style it doesn't look terribly different from Mage 2, but there's a lot more. But because it's in black and white, there's a lot more work with solid black, and the solid black will be like speckled and sort of like grungy.
Right. Like,
You know,
to
with
me,
the
it looked like etchings or like wood carvings
yeah,
in an effort to make it seem like, plates in like an old book or something like that. Or
interesting. I mean, it seems like that might be something from like Matt taking real advantage of the black and white.
Absolutely. Because
You know,
surely he doesn't normally work in just black and white, maybe black, white, and red, but it's almost always colored.
oh man,
And we truly meet a lot of different and interesting Grendels here. His drawings
yeah,
bring out some amazing characters. Here on
yeah,
page 46, we get a really cool like gang of Grendels that start messing with the boy. They talk about the Red Devils.
oh, that's right.
These are previous Red Devils and stuff.
And when Susan dispatches all these people, which of course she's going to,
Yeah.
Rucka's prose are really exciting. When I was doing the audiobook, I tried to like really
You did.
and I would sometimes lose comprehension, but I don't think it mattered because the vibe was right.
I
and
think
you're
so.
the only person who's ever going to hear
it. Except unless I release it on the open market.
On the Well, there's Doctor One is my favorite of
yeah, there was a lot of really great action, and again, the setting of the stage and the setting up of feelings and the way things look. I mean, Greg Rucka did that amazingly.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed I read Mage 2 and I did some studies for Mage 2, and I can see it in this and other stuff as well. But Matt's simplification is very like that's the thing that like you're like, oh yeah, oh, it looks easy, like it's like Olympic athlete easy, how it looks effortless.
Yes,
very, very nice. All right, so they're with Mace. Now I have to tell you that some of the finer points of the plot here lose me, but Mace doesn't necessarily tell her that she's part of the People's Revolutionary Army or that she's like one of their contacts. But he does tell her that she hates all Grendels, and basically all the people living in this world hate all Grendels.
It seems like that because they truly let them down. Like they were supposed to be the heavy duty defenders of this government that came in and took over and promised great things, but then they got they turned into this army. They turned into a militia that cut away freedoms, and then the title was truly sullied. And we're going to see all that in Grendel Tales once we start getting really deep into it.
Yeah. One thing that happens in this book, they go to I don't know how to say the city's name. Taipei in China.
Oh, Taipei, yeah.
Taipei. And they go to the local Khanate like building, and they get taken care of, and they bring them food and weapons and armor and women and everything that they could ever want. And it's like it's like a critique of governmental systems gone rotten.
Yeah.
Or of whatever, or it's almost like the end of Animal Farm, where like the pigs are living in the house and blatantly breaking the number one rule.
Yes,
because
exactly.
The Grendels are not supposed to have property, but it seems like things are. The meaning of what a Grendel is in this book, in this moment, is a little mushy. There's people that show up saying, "Oh, we're the first people that try to jump her are like posing as Grendels," or like he's got the tattoos, but then like in his sweat and tears, the makeup starts to run, and she realizes that like he's not actually, because Susan's tattoos. Does Susan have her tattoos in Homecoming?
Oh yeah, definitely.
She does.
That's the last one we did. Yeah.
Right.
That's where you really see them.
This opens up directly after Homecoming.
It seems like it because she
rides.
left.
She leaves that to go do this.
I guess
And
so.
And she actually gets the most, because of this book. Susan actually gets like the most characterization of many of the characters. She's up
True.
there with the most characterized Grendels.
Agreed.
And
the most like issues, the most stories.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the most like character beats even.
Yeah. Development from that, just the guard in the background of that first panel, when she's guarding Crystal, to all this,
She's seeking true validation of her commitment to her oath, and she only finds it at the end of this book as the Paladin's Squire, as they term it,
right?
Which is a really like cool archetypal spin to put on it. The only other time that I lost the page. The only other time that we get to see her after that, I think, here it is in Devil's Odyssey, where she's this amazing helmet, and then she and Prime talk about how great he is, and we'll get there in episode one day, I'm sure. I don't want to bury the lead on that, but I love
so many so much great stories that could be told. Go ahead.
I was only saying, there are so many great stories to be told, and even if they have to live in our imaginations, there's still great stories.
Yeah, well, continuing with the story here, another really cool and interesting thing they do. I believe the place is called Bimtang. It's like a village that is very much true and still is still true to the ideals of Orion Asante.
Right.
And so they get there, and there's these these big logos of the Kanate, the Kanat, and they get there, and these people are still like, oh my God, they're treating them well. We're just like, kill me for not knowing who you were or whatever. The old man that first greets them when he sees that she's like a true Grendel, they let them in, and they start learning, and then they hear this word, Barabbas. What is Barabbas? Who is Barabbas?
Barabbas is a crazy leader of the revolutionary.
Right. But we don't learn that yet. We just hear like mentionings and rousings or rabbles of
any of this.
So she calls them Barabbas, like the raiders, thieves. That's the best I can figure. But so they keep hearing this, but these people are in fear of whatever Barabbas is, and we'll find out that yes, it is the leader of the rebels. And then they continue looking for this dude, for the kid, until they find out, when they meet someone where they're like, he's been dead for 6 months. Mace finds out from the people, like, the kid's been dead for 6 months. So, okay, that line went dry for a second. And that's at the end of chapter 7 on page 72. So it's like, he's been dead for 6 months. But then we learn more. We go to this like ancient wise man who tells the story of the kid, Namche, and all that, like, his travels, and how he was looking and he found this temple to Orion Asante. Orion Asante is like temple retreat, and that he kept trying to go there, and that he found it, and he went there, and they thought him dead, and he was gone for a long time. And then he came back and regaled them with stories of this like Grendel temple. And then he was like, and this is what I found, the lightsaber of Grendel Prime.
But it's really his dick. It's really his giant dick.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But we don't learn that till later.
Vivat Grendel.
Vivat Grendel.
All right, so Susan gets her hands on the lightsaber, and then oh man, I don't know if I can go through the entire sequence of the story. I'm really good in the last 50 pages though. So this is the People's Republic
Yeah, they come and kind of like check in. And so and she's ready to like Susan's ready to like I'll just go kill them all. That's what I have to do. I have to do that or they're going to kill everyone here. And Mace is like,
Yeah,
no,
but
no, no.
Mace distracts her by kissing or something like that, right?
That's right. And she's like, don't do it. Like, don't kill them. They're fine. It's too much. You know, they'll kill you and then they'll kill everyone else here anyway. She kisses her and then they kind of like, they take off and they leave. And she's like, you're one lucky son of a bitch. All right. And so they continue. And that's when they set out on their way to try to get to this temple, which they feel like, okay, that's where Prime is. And on the way, you know, after having sex, they have a disagreement about what's going to happen after this, and Mace leaves. You know, that's it. You've used me. This has all been about Prime. This has all been about finding him, and this had nothing to do with, you know, like me or with anything else. It's like you don't even care about me. You use me to get the information, which should have been clear because she was only supposed to be a guide at first. You know, but so she leaves and she continues on and she's colder and frostbiting her, bitten her. She's been bitten by the frost upon her fingers and toes. She's freezing, but she continues. She continues up the hill. But when she gets there, it's like insane because it's this like Buddhist temple almost thing, but there's these giant doors with like the devil's eyes on them, and there's, you know, adornments of that of Jupiter Asante, and you know, she's psyched. She sheaths her ninjato, goes in and explores until she finds Grendel Prime, kind of hunched over in a bowing position, almost sitting with his knee on his knees, seemingly dead.
Yeah. So she what happens here?
But bro forgot his charger, and he's just like, shit, I guess I'm gonna die.
Yeah, she's got to fix him. She gotta like scrape away all the flesh,
all the meat. Yeah, she's got to get rid of the meat.
That's a big part of Prime's journey here. I'll be honest with you, I really don't remember a lot of the finer details of what's going on in the story.
Yeah. You just read it to me. That doesn't mean that you took it in. You just
I read it like 6 weeks ago.
That was a while ago, and I'm sorry about that. And I read it about a week or so ago, or you know, some today. So I will say that in this part, she does find like a back room, like a warehouse where he had all his stuff. Like he has like guns and tools and extra armor for himself. And so she basically like plugs him in and starts working on him. She doesn't really know what to do, but she's kind of following her, you know, whatever, her idea and her whatever knowledge she has. And she's like scraping his meat off, tightening stuff, trying to work on whatever he can, plug him into the wall. And then she kind of like falls off to sleep, but not before she has this like crazy dream about the death of Jupiter. And it makes her like fall into like more of a depression about, you know, being a clan Veraghen and not having killed herself, not being able to protect. And so then she's woken up by the people's army, and they come in, and then they have this huge, you know, blaster battle. But she like sends in Crystal or sends in Mace at first, and they kind of like start talking. But then the blasters begin, and that's when Prime awakens and cuts down Mace right in front of her. You know, doesn't cut her in half, but shoots her, and all throughout all this whole thing, like, you know, the blaster battle is happening, and everything's going down until Prime comes in and kind of like ends it, and until Barabbas like gets whoever and they flee, and she's
Mace's dying words to Susan are to find Barabbas.
Yeah, exactly. And then her eyes didn't see me anymore.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt does a really great job with all these illustrations. This one of Prime with the sword ignited, 110 pages. Finally, you know, you finally get some Prime action, but there's so much action in this book.
Yeah, it's so sick.
And once they're together, it like there's just like action sequence after action sequence after action sequence. They add more Grendels, there's more characters, keeps going.
So yeah, they continue. I mean, they continue, and then that's when Susan, her girl died, and she found him now, but she's disenchanted with what she found. So she's like, okay, my quest is for naught. There truly is no honor. The Prime is not who I thought he was. He killed who I love. So now she's like, I'm going to cut off my dreads. She's quoting. She's reading and saying the oath of obedience. With Orion's sword, the hunter arose and conquered the world with fury and grace. She's going and she's ready to perform that ritual suicide and kill herself so she can join her clan in the Grendel, the great Grendel verse in the sky. And, Prime just like palms her head and just pulls it back. And he's like, no, and he offered me his hand and I took it, Like, you came here for me. We still have a mission. Let's go find Barabbas. Let's go do this. And let's.
That's the end of part 1 of 2.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So the second part is actually like much breezier once they're united.
That's
there's
true.
There's Susan's internal conflicts are ignited against each other. All this stuff.
Right. And it opens up with this spread of Grendel Prime starting to remove her tattoos. She wants to be clean, she says.
Yeah, why? So they don't. I feel like there's something with the tattoos that isn't quite explained, or maybe I didn't pick up. Well, all Veraghens have these tattoos. This is like
it says it's like the tribal Veraghen Grendel eyes, or the devil's eyes. I don't know exactly why she's removing them. She wants to be clean, and she wants to go into this new part of her life.
Oh, maybe it's because like clan life is broken now.
Yeah,
and so she doesn't want to be like associated with that. I don't know.
Yeah, it says I had been very young, like when my white skin was like marked, but there's no lesion of youth in my eyes, and it seemed there were no more. Oh no, that's not really explaining the tattoos thing. But yeah, I do believe it is like, Clan Veraghen is dead. These symbolize a dead clan that no longer exists, and I don't want, I am no longer Clan Veraghen, so I shouldn't have these markings either. So she's getting rid of them. Her clan is Clan Paladin now.
The artwork here actually reminds me of I think what we're going to see in Batman Grendel 2.
Oh, right. Yes, agreed.
I think that is actually that it has obviously more to do with that than with Mage 2 for a reason.
All right. So no, they continue and they're on their way to the city, and this is where they find this other Grendel that they start going around with, Kank. Kanq, who kind of becomes their like liaison in town. He's got a metal leg. He's like 75 or 80 years old. And
people in the streets.
He's what?
Whenever he kills people in the street,
if they touch a Grendel, never touch a Grendel, slices their head off.
Yeah, right.
And he enjoys some of the finer things of life, quote unquote. He's, they are taken into this Grendel palace.
Yes.
And they're offered, as you were saying, showers and repairs to their garments and anything they so desire. And so Kank has.
This is crazy. Grendels are supposed to be without property, right?
They don't have property, but that doesn't mean they can't enjoy property when it's around.
They can't accept property.
Or gifts, maybe.
I guess that was the whole. I feel like that's what happens in Devil's Reign, is that like it's like designed like with one political intention, but they guys find loopholes to become warlords anyway.
Right, and that's how the Grendel like title is, permutated,
exactly, mutated,
sullied, exactly, yeah.
Hey, by the way, how is your Ninja Turtles movie?
It's so good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I believe you.
Take your kids, take your inner child, have fun, get a bunch of candy, and you're gonna love it. It is amazing. It's really well done. There's a lot of like the soundtrack is amazing. It's all old school hip hop. There's so many nods to the old Turtles and comics and Easter eggs, and it's great.
That sounds delightful. So I like this servant guy with his eyes sewn shut.
Yeah, well, they say they took his eyes out because she could tell that they were empty sockets sewn over.
God.
Maybe
the vampires got him. Oh shit.
Yeah, so this is the clan there, and so they're looking for him now. And Konk's like, well, now who they're looking for? Dr. One. Yes, because there was a team of doctors that created Prime from this guy who was like in Orion's army, and he was like the best swordsman, the best, second only to the Khan himself. And he was nominated to be this, and even at the last moment, he almost didn't want to do it because he couldn't tell his wife, or he couldn't tell his family, or he couldn't tell anyone. And
that's his big character development flashback.
Yeah,
he sits Susan down. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, Eli. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to? I mean, because that's sort of the end of the story.
That's about where I am, because I'm trying to move along through the book here.
All right, so
we're at Dr. One.
We're at Dr. One. Dr. One is hilarious.
He's hilarious. Because they don't tell you about him until after we meet him. They don't give you the history.
Just like his dialogue was so much fun to read. He said some funny shit.
Yeah. And he's in like an old school tweed 3-piece suit, and his gut hangs below his knees, and
he's got like cyborg eye visors and shit.
Yeah, you were reading it very funny. It was awesome.
He makes a mess.
Yeah.
My 10 talented fingers.
Paladin. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he slaps his forehead, and the wet sound of his palm echoes.
Oh yeah. Yes. I feel like you were channeling like Billy Crystal and what's it called? Jesus. The Princess Bride, yes. Billy Crystal, how he's like that inventor, and he's like, he's like the troll guy. Anyway, he definitely had a
Dr. One is super excited to get to work on the Paladin again.
Yeah. He's like, my boy, he's come home. I can't wait. Let's get in there.
We get Susan. Susan's gonna help him do a little dual assistant surgery. And they fix up his thoracic vertebrae rotator cuffs or whatever.
Exactly. And they get in there and they're doing all this stuff, and he's like, ooh, who did all this work? Was this you? And it almost thinks he's gonna be like, oh, you suck or something, but he's like, actually, good work, come on over. So it kind of seems like he's like training Susan a little bit to do some tweaks on the old boy, but they're not going to necessarily get there, because then they start running across. Oh no, this is when Kank cuts some people down in the aisle, because like they have one day with Dr. One, and then they go back, and then they're like, okay, we'll meet up again. So this guy bumps into Susan.
They get jumped.
Well, somebody bumps into Susan, and they're like, how dare you run into the Grendel, when he slices that dude in half. But that's when they get home, Susan finds out that guy slipped a little note in her shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Meet me at the docks.
Yeah. Where everything always happens. The docks. 4 a.m. Come alone.
And Susan goes because
I think it's out of curiosity. She doesn't know what's going to happen. And, she's like, I don't, everything in this journey.
She ends thinking that she's a traitor, but I don't know.
Well, because if it is the rebels, any Grendel who works with rebels is seen as a traitor. That's like
she goes down to the docks, and she meets this kid who's got this like old, it's like a rose tattoo or something like that.
Right. It used to be red, but now it's like covered over black.
Now it's black because he's no longer, he's in the People's Revolutionary Army. And
he pulls out a FaceTime machine and gets a FaceTime from
Barabbas.
From Barabbas.
Barabbas. That's like a
Barabbas.
real like Dragon Ball kind of.
Yeah. And so Barabbas kind of lays it out, and he truly knows. He knew Mace well. He is using their relationship to get all her emotions going. Like, Mace would have wanted this. Mace wouldn't have wanted this. If your love with Mace means anything, then, you'll do this for me. And he's really like messing with Susan's head and really trying to like get her on the rebel side using Mace. So, we're led to believe, like, was this the point the whole time? Did they try to exploit Mace and get, Susan to love her so that they could, use that to get her onto their team and on their side so they can get rid of the last vestige of the Asante ruling class, the prime of all Grendels.
Well, it's because they think they'll do it because she's been through such hell with these awful people.
Yeah.
It's like she's like one of these like Trump defectors, like who wanders their reputation just by not being a complete lunatic.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but she's like, I don't know. She doesn't know if she's gonna do it, and then she pulls her knife on the messenger guy. Like, I could kill you right now for even trying to get me this message, but she doesn't.
But she doesn't.
Yeah.
All right, so what happens?
She's
she
back
gets
again.
To
yep.
Place, and the paladin is supposed to kill her. Eli,
he's like, where were you? And she's like, I was just out. I was out. I was up for a walk.
Oh, this is where he tells the story.
Yeah, this is where he breaks it down and kind of tells about his life and how he was the best, as we were saying, and we get a nice shot of Orion like kind of blessing him, but also kind of like dooming him to this undead life as the paladin who will live for the rest of time serving cons after con after con after con.
And he doubted, and his doubt is like so. Susan says, like, I know he would never tell anybody this story. No one's ever going to hear this story again.
Right. I'm the only person that's ever come close to being like a friend, because Jupiter wasn't really a friend. That was his charge, and he raised him. But Susan fought alongside him, and they had this same, he sees something in her that he sees in himself, I guess, or saw in his human self. If there's any vestige.
I think what happens is that they go back to Dr. One's warehouse and it's been cleared out, and then a bunch of APCs bust in through the wall, and they have like a giant machine gun fight.
Yeah, this 162, this spread on 162 is glorious. This action sequence of them two.
One of the best in the whole book.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is that the paladin is running out of charge, and he runs away after Susan gets shot.
Yeah, she gets shot, and then he kind of like goes off into the distance. Maybe, maybe he's got this plan, like he's leaving her to the rebels. The rebels will take her to their base. He planted a homing beacon in her spine that we find out later. And so he leaves her to them so that he can then follow them to their base. So now that Susan's been shot and she thinks she's dying, he is like kind of using her to make his next and final move. And so then we get the next.
She's there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
she's eating nothing at first. She's naked and on the ground in the dirt and the wet cold until she has this vision of Crystal that's like, you need to be strong. You got to eat the bugs. And then there's the shortest little segment between, because they use these Grendel eyes to like separate chapter or like separate little thoughts or what do they call it? What do they call it in a novel when it's separated like that?
I don't know.
Like
what
a stanza or something.
But they use it 3 times on this one page. And it's just, I hate bugs.
I hate bugs. I hate the bugs.
It's a really interesting formal device.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like, different. I wonder if they would use that in Pulp Fiction. I think I have a Doc Savage collection somewhere in here.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. And I think they use it in like the old Shadow books, because I read a few after Matt told us to check them out, and they're good. And they have a feel like this, where they travel around and there's a lot of interesting characters. And all right, so they continue, and then they finally are like crawl out, and they bring her out in front of Barabbas, and she's cold and naked and weak, and she convinces them to let her die with her blade,
to do her own ritual.
Yeah. Well, I think she doesn't want to. She wants to die with honor.
No, well, this is where Barabbas is like, "This is your last chance. You can either help us or die." And she's like, "I'll die." Not a tough question.
Yeah, not a big one.
So as she's getting ready to be in front of a firing squad with her sword in her hand, the kid the intern that met her at the docks, becomes her first victim in her escape.
Yeah, she gets the sword back and immediately kills him, kills the whole firing squad. My God.
Look at this GVR. It's huge.
Oh my God, yes.
So cool. So, and then there's this shot of her jumping out the window.
Oh yeah, she jumps off this huge crevasse.
And she just runs. And I think that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, and she's like running and she has no shoes, and she's talking about how her toes are useless and she can't feel her hands and feet. She's just running and running. She says, keep going until she reaches this village, and she hears people talking behind the doors, but she just keeps walking through the village. No one comes out to help her or talk to her until she finds the last house on the left. She blasts the door open and, finally builds a fire, and, she's so cold and all she wants is warmth and sleep and to eat something. And so she falls in, breaks his chair, and it turns out the paladin was there, and she was there for 14 days, and he tells her that he put the thing in there, and she's like, how could you lose me? And he's like, I never lost you.
It's all about it's confirming over and over again in these last chapters that the paladin I knew you would not betray yourself. I knew you'd not betray me. You've never betrayed yourself. All this reaffirming, validating, like you are worthy of all this, and then it ends with her saying, "I'm your squire now." And so then they suit up. He gives her super adrenaline drugs.
Probably Grendel, I was thinking, a small dose of Grendel.
And then she's dressed like Big Barda.
Yeah, dude. And they're about to go into battle.
They're gonna machine gun everything.
Yeah, freaking badass page right there.
So he flies in. He's flying this plane in this drawing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and then they don't even try to do a secret thing, and he just comes in, he's like blah, 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 bam, and then does another pass, he's like blah, 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 and picking everyone off out front and killing them and raging hell out front, and then he lands and they just fucking John Wick their way in and just kill everybody. It is craziness. This last couple chapters is nonstop.
Yeah, so the big bad is this giant it becomes the ED-209 from
yeah, exactly what I was envisioning.
Oh, just with tons, and the Great Machine it's called. And I guess that there's a big reveal that Dr. One is also in the People's Revolutionary Army, and that he is this, and he
was building this machine too,
and that he's very distraught when he's caught by the paladin.
Yeah,
and that's all I can remember is that they
also the paladin is I need to destroy this machine. Susan pick off people around me, but Barabbas needs to see me destroy this machine that he thinks is supposed to destroy me.
Barabbas thinks that if he can destroy Prime, then he can destroy the last vestige of hope in the Khanate.
Yeah. And the last vestige of
I don't know why he thinks he can destroy Prime. He thinks he can destroy Prime because he has the scientist that built Prime building another bigger machine.
Right, exactly. But I almost think that Dr. One wouldn't ever destroy Prime because it's the greatest thing he's ever done. So he would Prime goes up in there, and then we have this amazing 2-page spread where Prime just lets loose. He gets up in there, he slices stuff. Shit comes down on top of him. There's this amazing, like, you know, Marvel Comics Presents 100 or whatever. It's an art thing, I'm sure, many times where he's holding up the big rocks and Atlas or whatever, and you know, he just goes off until he destroys the robot, and then he comes over. Once the robot is destroyed and he's taking his final things, he grabs Dr. One by the head, digs his hand into his back, and then just rips his spine out. And that's when all the rebels are like, oh, fuck. And they run. They're like, okay, nope. Just they scatter and run. And they're like, that's it. And Barabbas comes up. He's like, what the hell? He's like, are you not? You cannot do this. And that's, he starts going after Susan. And Susan's like, nah, dude, fuck y'all. And he's like, you wouldn't dare. Slices her head. Or she slices his head right off. And they left together. The palace in flames behind us. And the book ends right there.
Yeah, that's it.
They just fucking destroy the place, blow it up, kill everyone, and just bounce. Book over. It's insane. And then we never see Susan again. There has been no further tales of Susan. And the next time we see Prime, it's like, sorry, what?
Susan's in 2 pages of Devil's Odyssey.
True. And the next time we see Prime is at the beginning of Odyssey too, as well, or no? It's in Devil Quest, I guess.
The next time we see Prime is the next thing we'll be doing.
Devil Quest,
and then Batman Grendel 2, and then
we'll get into the Grendel tales, and we'll maybe just do Four Devils, One Hell. Yeah, maybe we'll just do them as they came out, because the chronology is muddy, so we can just do them how they came out.
Muddy. Well, Eli,
wow, man,
quite the detailed recant.
Well, it was good. It was exciting, and to be honest, I got through most of it in the last couple days, you know, as I read, and I curled up by the fire with a blanket and my giant gun, and I listened to the soothing sounds of Ben's voice read me this awesome novel. It was glorious.
Thank you.
May you all be lucky enough to have a friend read you stories as you fall deep into sleep.
Well, I'm glad it was coherent.
It was awesome, man. I'm honored that you took the time to do something like that for me.
It was nice to honor you.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm glad you could honor me.
Well, friends, we learned a lot today.
We did.
We'll be back with real comics next time.
Yes, we will be, and we're excited. We're gonna try to get back on the weekly schedule, and we're gonna kick it, y'all. Hell yeah! Until next time, Vivat Grendel.
Keep on Grendel.
Sweet.
Nice.
We did it.